Hello everyone, welcome to this fantastic TA workshop with Twinkl Play. My name's Holly and I'm the Twinkl Wales and ALN manager. I'm so excited for Wales to be collaborating with Twinkl Scotland and the Play team, and I really hope you enjoy this session. I'll hand you over to Emma and Gillian. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us on. My name is Gillian Stephen and I am the Primary Segment Manager for Twinkl Scotland. I am a former primary teacher of over 11 years, most recently in a Primary 2 classroom, which was play-based, which is ages 5 and 6 here in Scotland, and of course a huge advocate for play. Twinkl Scotland's team noticed the need for play, which is why we have decided to create this new product, Twinkl Play, as part of our team. And Emma will tell you a little bit more about it, but I'll pass you over to Emma now.
Thanks, Gillian. Nice wife there. I hope I've done you proud there, Holly. My name is Emma. I'm going with that poor attempt. I'm clearly not Welsh, but I'm going to try for you. That was it. That's all the Welsh I'm doing. I lead the Twinkl Play team. My job at Twinkl is to find out what play facilitators need and to come up with ideas on what we can create to fully support playful learning. I started my love of education as a teaching assistant and a holiday club leader. I'm now a classroom teacher and I've been teaching for over 20 years. I live and work in the northeast of Scotland. I'm ashamed to admit that play wasn't something I gave much thought to through most of my teaching years. As a mum of 2, of course, I knew how vital it is for babies, but especially with older children in my classroom, I definitely viewed play as something that they might get to when they finish their work. When it came to break times and lunch times, I gave no thought into how vital this free time is to allow them to play. My understanding of the value of play has improved somewhat since then, thankfully. So that's my starting point. This workshop really is an introduction into play. It's for anyone who is at the beginning of exploring the role of play for children past the early years. You'll be coming in curious about this workshop with your own play experiences and a wealth of knowledge of your role. But regardless, I hope that you find this workshop useful and that there's something that you can take away and try out. We do have another workshop that's already been pre-recorded called Playful Playgrounds and Nurture Through Play, which is packed full of ideas, and you might find that of interest as something to go on to and have a look at after this one. So as we talk about play, I know you will be mindful that not every suggestion or idea will suit every young person or setting. So I just need to share this disclaimer with you to have a quick read through later on and encourage you to use your own professional judgment when taking on some of the suggestions. Overall, Twinkl's got a wide range of resources to inspire, but Twinkl Play itself is relatively new and it has a specialised team working specifically on supporting play experiences for ages 4 to 12 years and beyond. You'll find that there's QR codes in some of our slides. If you scan these with the camera on your phone, then it'll take you straight to our website or a specific resource, or you can simply type in Twinkl Play into your search engine and take a look through all of our resources there.
So here's a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. We'll start with the big question, what is play, before moving on to why it's so important for children's learning and well-being. Then we'll look at some simple and practical ways to bring play into the classroom beyond the early years so it feels realistic and manageable. We'll also share how Twinkl Play can support you with resources and ideas. And finally, some time for sharing some more ideas that you can implement as a TA and some time for questions. Just to mention, for quickness, we have hidden a few slides today because we've got so much to tell you, we won't manage to fit it all into 1 hour. But when you receive the full deck after the TeachMeet, you'll be able to read some of those in a bit more depth.
I just want you to take a moment to reminisce. Can you cast your memory back to a time in your childhood when you were playing happily? Please pop in the Q&A if you want, whatever comes first, a core memory that springs to mind. It can be a time it was noisy and social, or maybe play can just be easily just as quiet and solitary. So have a little think. Where was it happening? Who was there? How did you feel? Take a moment to reminisce and go back to how you felt as a child playing. My core memory is my Cindy dollhouse. I couldn't believe how lucky I was to receive it as a gift. It was taller than me. And I spent hours and hours playing with it, with my Cindy dolls and Barbie dolls in it. Margaret was one of the Cindy dolls. She was the matriarch of the family, aka the granny. And as a mature lady, she had decided one day she wanted a sensible short haircut. So I helped her out with that. Margaret regretted that decision for the rest of her days, and she had to rock a headscarf every day. That day, I discovered that dolls' hair don't grow like mine does. Where was it happening for me? It was in my bedroom mainly, although sometimes the Cindy dolls and Barbie dolls did go out on an exploration. It was quite often just with myself, maybe my younger sister if I let her, and often with my best friend Lindsay. How did I feel? Well, I felt quite grown up actually, choosing what the dolls were going to wear and dealing with relationship problems. I had two established couples, Ken and Donna, and Derek and Carol. And when Lindsay came with her dolls, they didn't have steady relationships. So it was always quite rocky introducing them to the role play situation. It didn't always work out my way. I was really starting to explore what it might be like as an adult through using my dolls. Gillian, do you have a core memory you'd like to share?
Oh, I'm just trying to think. My main one was probably we did a lot more similar to like role play as well, but we used to go out and we had a little cul-de-sac that we lived on, and we used to go out on our rollerblades and pretend we were ice skating, figure skating, dancing champions. We had zero moves at all, like if we could go from one foot to the other, but we genuinely believed that we were awesome. And it was me and my big sister. We would score each other. And we were the only girls that lived in our street. So the boys were all out in their rollerblades playing hockey, and then we would like pretend triple axel through their hockey pitch, which was always, I'm sure I'm sure the boys loved that, but we thought it was fantastic. But it was a lot. We took it very seriously and genuinely believed we were going to be Olympic figure skaters at that point.
I love how you're using all the official terms like the triple axel as well. Like it was all very official.
I didn't do any of them, but I do remember I had the brightest rollerblades in the world. They were luminous yellow and purple and with yellow wheels. You would not have missed me coming down the street. It was very bright.
Love it. 80s still, love it.
Very much so.
So when you're thinking about that, like you wanted to play in that situation, you chose what to play with, and you chose how to play. It was freely chosen, personally directed, and intrinsically motivated, and that is what true play is.
So this slide really captures the heart of why play matters. Play is the way children figure things out about themselves, about other people, and about the world around them. When they explore, they're actually experimenting, problem solving, and making discoveries. And I love this quote from a child. It's what I do when everyone else has stopped telling me what to do. And I think that's a really powerful reminder that play is children's space to take the lead, to be creative and direct their own learning. And it's through that freedom that they make sense of things in a deeper way. So what do we actually mean by play? At its core, play is something, as I've said, freely chosen and self-directed by the child, not about adult instruction. The child decides the purpose of their play and they adapt and change as they go along. So we've put together this sketch note, which is a new style of resource that we've created within Twinkl Play. This one's What is Play? If you'd like to explore this idea a little bit further. This is one of the few resources that we have been able to translate into Welsh, but we would say if you go on to Twinkl Play and find something that you would really like to have translated, please just reach out and we will do our best to make that happen.
So there are many models that aim to identify and set out categories of play. These models are for adults who facilitate play to help them plan for breadth across a variety of different play forms. One of the models is Bob Hughes' play types, and he identified 16 types of play. I rarely find that play falls neatly into one category. You can identify the categories your play memory sits within. For me, it would definitely come under imaginative, role play, and communication. The benefits of play for older children is an emerging field of research. I know of several Scottish universities that have got students working on masters on this topic at the moment. But what is known is what happens in the brain when we play, regardless of age. Play improves cognitive, physical, social, emotional well-being for children, young adults, and young people and adults alike. That's right, adults. When was the last time you played? Just totally lost yourself, lost track of time, fully immersed yourself in something that you want to do just for the fun of it. A craft project, a sport, playing music, playing a board game. Play really is important for everyone's well-being.
So the right to play. Article 31 of the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child, or the UNCRC, is really clear. All children under the age of 18 have the right to engage in play and other leisure activities appropriate to their age. I am a huge supporter of the UNCRC, and when we were doing some research for this particular TeachMeet, I was so excited to see Wales' position on it. I always get really proud when we're able to talk about how Scotland have incorporated the UNCRC into law, but Wales, you are beating us to it. You were the first country to publish a national play policy way back in 2002. And in 2010, the Play Sufficiency Duty, the first law of its kind anywhere in the world, ensured that children are given real opportunities to play. So from us Scots to you, well done. I'm very impressed, and it's really exciting to be able to discuss the UNCRC with a group of people who see it as valuable as we do. So when we talk about the right to play, it's not just a nice idea, it's embedded in your policies within Wales, similar to within Scotland. I've really cut down what I wanted to say about the UNCRC, Emma, because you know that I can get a bit carried away with it, so I've cut it right down to there.
Thanks, Gillian. So let's go back to that scene of when you were playing, when you were in your younger self. You weren't just playing. My hackles go up when I hear that phrase, or they're just playing, as if it's insignificant. Zoom out and observe yourself as an educator's perspective. Look at your younger self playing. What skills were you developing? What discoveries were you making for yourself?
I cannot do a triple axel. That was my discovery.
And Barbie's hairs don't grow back. The holistic skills developed through play can be categorized into 5 key areas: social, physical, creative, emotional, and cognitive. And while not technically an holistic skill, literacy and numeracy skills are often naturally being practiced during play. For me, playing with my Barbie and Cindy dolls, I was certainly working on social skills, negotiation, communication, cooperation, physical. Find more skills. Have you ever tried putting on Barbie shoes or those tiny little rollers? They're so fiddly in their hair. And they didn't make their hair curl. It was pointless. Creativity, emotional, resilience when the play wasn't going my way with that relationship triangles going on with my friends' dolls as well. And cognitive, curiosity, focus. I could spend hours role playing with those dolls. What about your memory? I wonder if you can work out where yours sit. Let's turn our attention into schools now, though. Where is the play in school? Play is expected and established in the early years, but as children move through the school, there's often less time for play due to a packed curriculum, timetables, and structured lessons. The expectation can lead to pressure on both the children and the adults to achieve and hit targets. Yet play is an ideal way to refresh, relax, de-stress, and we know it is the best way to learn.
So who is leading the play? When we think about it, it's really useful to consider who is doing that part of it. So we've broken it down into 3 different areas. So first off, you've got child-led play. This is play that children start by themselves and direct entirely. They decide what they want to do, what challenges they'll take on, and how it's going to unfold. Secondly, we've got adult-initiated play. Here, the adult might set up the environment or provide a starting point. They'll maybe put out some loose part play or set up a game. But after that, the play is in the children's hands. It develops its own way without the adults giving any more instructions. And then finally, we have adult-led play or play-based learning. This is where adults use playful activities to meet a particular learning goal. So the adult takes on more of a guiding role here, shaping what happens whilst keeping things playful and engaging for the children. It's important to note that all three of these have value. It's not about one being better than the other, but it's about understanding the differences and knowing when each type is going to be most effective, depending on who you're working with, the children, their experiences to date, and taking all that into account.
I'm thinking about play for older children. Older children must be given opportunities to learn through exploration, push the boundaries of their understanding, and experience the joy of discovery. The social and cognitive skills acquired through play experiences persist from childhood and into adolescence and adulthood. The meta skills are a set of higher order skills that can help people adapt, learn, and succeed in a changing world. These are transferable abilities that can be used in many different situations, including preparing children for careers that they choose to follow as adults. So by allowing children space to play, we're actually helping them to prioritize, practice, and equip themselves with skills that employers are going to be looking for in the future. We're setting them up for success.
So we've skipped a couple of slides just here. One of them was about playful instincts, which you can have a look at in your own time. But that was just talking about how as children get older, they'll feel more that pressure to sit still, avoid making mistakes rather than lead. And supporting confidence and independence in open-ended play is really important. And effectively is perhaps given challenges where you offer provocations or ideas without setting an end goal. And another thing to remember is that older children are natural experimenters. You can see them using almost a scientific process of problem solving, testing out hypotheses, and evaluating and refining ideas. So when you're supporting this, just ensure that the play that is provided is in line with their interests and skills so that the play keeps stretching them as they grow. But play is a naturally diverse, and particularly when child initiated, because each child chooses and directs their own way to play. As adults, we can help play be more accessible by providing things like clearer information, signage, symbols, and pictorial cues when needed. Inclusive play experiences are about making sure everyone can take part. That means offering a mix of activities that are flexible, diverse, and give each child the same chance to develop their own skills, practice language, and most importantly, have fun. And it's also important for us to remember that all of the learners that we're engaging with, they're born with the capacity to play. But how these children can play will depend on their individual needs, and that diversity should be respected. Any form of play that is safe for the child and others should be welcomed and supported. And for those interested, the QR code here will take you to some resources like luggage labels that will help you set up an inclusive play environment. So invitations to play. When we talk about invitations to play, we mean the way we set up resources, prompts, or supports to encourage play. Interestingly, the same materials can work for younger children and older children and even adults if they're wanting to join in, as long as the experiences are truly playful, open-ended, and process-driven. That's why at Twinkl Play, we don't categorise our resources strictly by play, by age or stage. The key is to provide prompts that are open to their interpretation. They can our resources invite creativity and allow each person to explore and engage with them in their own way. For example, a police costume that you would usually find hanging up in a role play corner would make that child want to act as a police officer. But what if you replaced that with a simple length of blue fabric? Not only could they be a police officer if that's what they wanted to be, but it could also be a wizard's cloak, the scales of a sea creature, it could be the sea, it could be the ocean floor, or it could even be a hammock. The possibilities are endless, limited only by the child's imagination. What we've done quite a lot at Twinkl Play is use photographs instead of illustrations, which you'll find on a lot of other Twinkl resources. We found that real life references can help children make these connections and apply what they know about the world to enrich their play experiences. The goal is to provide invitations that are open to interpretation and spark creativity.
Thanks, Gillian. Right, so hopefully, if you weren't already on board with the idea of the importance of play for all children and adults at the start of this workshop, then hopefully we have sparked your interest. Over the next few slides, I'm going to try and give you some practical tips on how play can perhaps be developed through your TA role. So I'm just going to fire loads of suggestions your way. I might talk quite rapidly to make sure I get them all through in time, but I know the recording will be shared afterwards and the slides, etc. So hopefully you can pick out things that are useful then. So my first suggestion, if we have piqued your interest, is maybe to go and discover a little bit more about play. Our sketch notes have a question, and then we break it down into easy bite-sized pieces. And the sketch notes cover a variety of aspects of play, and in a really easy, accessible way. And it counts towards your CPD hours as well. So I encourage you to go have a little look at the variety of sketch notes that we've got. Right, my next suggestion, just observe, is simply just to watch children playing in the playground, in between opening cartons of juice, tying shoelaces, cleaning Gray's knees, doing detective work to get to the bottom if we start the fight, insert 1,000 other tasks that you're trying to juggle in the playground as a TA. You might start to want to note down what's happening in that space to discover ideas of what could be done to encourage more play. Also, if you're asked to keep an eye on a group of children in the classroom who are playing and you're a little bit unsure about what your role is, then you could take one of our observation sheets or a pad of sticky notes and start to note down who is playing, what they're saying, what holistic skills that you're noticing are being developed or meta skills. And this is gold dust for teachers to use as evidence and plan their next steps. So any observations that you make, gather them in, pass them on to the teacher, and they'll be very welcome of that. Now, nurture through play for a variety of reasons. Not every child is in the right headspace to crack on with their lessons in class every day. As a TA, I was often asked to help a child to complete their work after they had been removed from class. In some situations, the child simply benefit from having a quiet space and an adult to assist them. And in this case, my role was straightforward. However, often the child came to me rather agitated and they were not ready to sit and complete their work. They might be feeling frustrated, misunderstood, possibly embarrassed or regretful if there was a confrontation between them and their teacher. If this is the case, having some play resources to hand might help the child to de-stress before redirecting them to the task. Now, you'll know your children best, and some of these might be a disaster, so proceed with caution. And sometimes you can simply start by just playing alongside them with a resource and gently inviting them to have a go. I find modelling dough is a great resource for this. No need for cutters and rollers and all that stuff, just a tub ready to play with, or simply a big blob of blue tack for them to squish and work, and acts as a brilliant quiet fidget toy. You could be playing with the resource yourself and inviting them to have a little go and allowing them just to work through some of their frustrations. Perhaps this might open dialogue with them too. Sand can be very calming to play with. I've got a mini rake from an old style Zen garden that used to get back in the day, and I've got some sand in a shallow tray with some smooth pebbles, and it works really well, allowing the child just to play with the sand, feel it in texture in their hands, etc., and just allow them to regulate their emotions a little bit. Blowing bubbles, a great calming activity as well to do. And worth a try. But we have got a really experienced writer who's created an excellent set of resources all about nurture through play. So if this is something that you would like to learn more about, then please go on and have to look at her resources. They are superb. Well, it's well documented that being outdoors can improve your mood and reduce stress. Children are playing less outdoors than previous generations. We know that. Only 1 in 4 children play outdoors regularly on the street compared to their grandparents' generation, where it was 3/4 said that they were outside several times a week. Children today have reported being told to stop making noise outside, stop playing ball games in certain areas, they're not allowed to climb trees because it's not safe. And then children have got their own concerns about safety, and also, of course, we're up against it with technology, the easy access to technology. It's so addictive, encouraging them to stay indoors rather than go out and get fresh air. So I encourage you to look for opportunities when the children are with you in school to use your outdoor space wherever possible. For example, if you're taking a group for cutting skills, then maybe take them outside, find some tufts of grass to give some funky haircuts to. Or if you're being asked to work on fine motor skills, then maybe taking some chalk outdoors, draw hopscotch grids, helping them with their grasping, but also teaching them a game that they can there play with their friends at break time later on. Or if you're being asked to practice spelling words, maybe go out with children with a pot of water and some paintbrushes and head to the playground to write the words on the ground. Far more memorable than just writing it out on a whiteboard or in a jotter. Now, heading to the little ones. While I do have some play experiences in my classroom set up that might seem more suited to older children, for example, I've got a deconstruction table where we take apart broken electronics. I've also got a sewing machine where the fashionistas are working on their mini sample outfits. I would say don't be afraid to borrow resources from the nursery and down the school for the middle years and older children, because you'll find that they actually want to play with them just as much as the younger ones. Things that I've borrowed from down the school that my current 9-year-olds in my class absolutely love are action figures, and taking the action figures outdoors so they can build mini dens and set up role play situations with them climbing up trees. Modelling dough, I'm sorry, that's just an ageless resource. But the older ones, get them to create their own modelling dough resources, own modelling dough. We've got recipe cards that they can follow on their own just using warm water, and they can experiment with adding maybe lavender or different scents, etc. We did a batch of modelling dough just before the summer holidays, and the children started making donuts with them, and it kind of organically developed into a shop where they were selling donuts. The following day I put out some price tags for them, and of course they then used that to start pricing up their donuts. They got some hammer beads so they could stick different toppings and put sprinkles on top, and it really emerged into a big role play thing that the children 100% had control over, and they were loving it. And these were age 10 children as well, and the skills, they were writing menus, they were doing social media campaigns on an iPad. Like, it just grew, and it absolutely came from their own interest. Really rich learning going on. And we were doing percentages in class, so it was really nice to see they were doing like 50% off deals and buy 2 and get 10% off and things like that. Magnetic tiles, again, or any form of construction, every child will, regardless of age, will love. And then my absolute favourite is large loose parts. Let's see, this was just for the holidays as well, out with large loose parts. We've managed to gather big tyres, or tractor tyres, car tyres. We've got old kitchen pots and pans and trays. We've got reels, cable reels, like wooden cable reels, pipes, old keyboards, old phones, a real good mix. It's just been gathered all free by putting out requests locally for anyone that might be getting rid of anything, and the children absolutely love it. So last time we were out, it was children had decided to develop a sushi restaurant, so that they had the seating set out. You could go make your reservation. They were taking telephone orders as well, and of course had a kitchen set up. There was a pet sanctuary going on with loads of role play. Ropes being used to help manage the wild dogs that were coming into the dog sanctuary part, and again, like sort of rope play, etc. There's obviously risks there, and it's about taking the children through the risks, making sure they're aware of them, helping them manage the risks themselves, and having discussions around what might happen if, and making sure that everyone's feeling safe and happy. We had a riding school. There were poles set up, and people were riding over them with part of the riding school. And then there was 2 burglars whose aim it was to rush around and try and remove items from every group without them noticing. And if they did get caught, they gave them back. But they were having great fun. And these are 10-year-olds, like, just absolutely loving life. Right, keep play up your sleeve. It could be your superpower. Well, maybe not up your sleeve, but perhaps in your pocket. So consider having a game that you enjoy playing to hand at all times, maybe in your jacket pocket when you're heading out for duties at break and lunch. Excuse me. One of my favourite things is a bag of marbles that I like to have in my pocket. But I've also got ones like this, like pouches. This is a noughts and crosses one, and it's just got simple little wooden tokens inside. It's just so easy to have in your pocket. I've got one that's drafts. It's like a little bag made up with all the little bits inside of it. But yeah, for me, it's quite often it's some marbles. And I think particularly if you enjoy the game, that enthusiasm rubs off on the children. So I might use this if I'm maybe helping a child who's feeling a little bit lost in the playground, in a sort of busy, bustling playground. I might have a little game with them with marbles first, and then I give them my little bag of marbles to go off and play. And I think they go off and find another partner to have a little play with. And I think because the children know how special they are to me, and how that they were mine when I was little, that they tend to look after them really well, and very few goes missing. And the travel game can be used if you're going to be asked to wait with a child. Perhaps they're feeling a little bit down, you need to calm down a little bit. You can whip out this little activity that you've got to hand. And the children will look forward to opportunities to be with you and to play with you, knowing that you've got that game in your pocket ready to play with. Maybe it can become a little bit of a competition that they know they're going to be challenging you again. Come to us for checklists. So if you're being asked to change up or set up a continuous provision area, perhaps sand or water, small loose parts or construction, then we've got you covered at Twinkl Play. Come over and have a look, see what we've got. We have got loads of checklists that you can look through for additional ideas and suggestions of how to set up these areas. In the playground, right, so while it can be difficult to implement change in your school building within a packed curriculum, the playground is the TA's domain. It certainly is in my school. So this might be where the best place for you to start influencing play. I'd suggest just by starting off and making some observations, who is playing where, how to use this to implement maybe just one change at a time, and record how it's being used and how successful it is. So ideas that might be quick and cheap to try are a quiet zone with somewhere to sit. Not everyone feels like running about every break time. Maybe there might be an opportunity to bring out a tub of books or magazines to have in this space. Clipboards with pencils attached. Okay, running about the playground with a sharp pencil is not wise, but you get those chubby pencils, you can get them attached to the clipboards and pop some paper in. It gives endless opportunities for children to be sitting playing games, maybe going off drawing, making lists, and it's great because they're practicing their literacy skills at the same time. Music, perhaps have a portable speaker at a window and allow the children to create a playlist. Perhaps see if you can assemble a few wooden pallets and put a request out for on social media for your local area. See if any construction sites can give you a few, and it makes a really simple stage or platform, which will go lovely along with the music if you've got that playing. Tires are a great large loose parts and can be free to source. And if you've got any sort of planting going on in your playground, perhaps having a sort of weeding and planting sort of kit ready to go, just some basic tools, maybe some gardening gloves, allowing the children to perhaps do some gentle weeding, attending to the plants. You might want to consider mixing ages and classes if currently they're separated. This gives really good opportunity to engage in fresh new play by mixing up the ages, having the older ones with the little ones. Old sheets or tarpaulin, as Gillian mentioned about maybe just having a sheet, the endless opportunities for imaginative play with that is fantastic. Maybe taking out some tubs of chalk, which can be lovely, but not all head teachers appreciate the multicoloured murals that might appear on the walls. So again, you may be just taking out some water and paintbrushes and allowing for some transient art along the paths and fences that will just fade when the sun dries them. And then maybe go back to some traditional games that you enjoyed as a child. Skipping, for instance. Obviously, I'd mentioned marbles earlier, but going back to some of your old favourites from the playground. The children will love these too. And again, we have got loads of ideas over in Twinkl Play for playful playgrounds. So if you are looking for a bit of inspiration, please head over, and there is a link there, a QR code that will take you to all of those playground resources. And ask the children, gather ideas from them. What do they want in their playgrounds? What would be great fun for them? See if they come up with ideas that are quite easy to implement. And it might be that through this conversation it develops, it progresses through the school. Maybe it does become a whole school initiative where you're going to look at play throughout the school and develop a play policy. But just start with asking the children, what do you enjoy playing with? What can we put out today? And finally, come to Twinkl Play for challenge cards and prompts to encourage playful exploration, such as these think outside the box question cards. So if someone's saying, I don't know what to play, I'm kind of bored, have these to hand, whip them out. Can you guide a ball without touching it? When is a rope not a rope? When is a stick not a stick? You know, really simple ideas to get a little bit of creativity and spark going. So take home messages. Play is powerful. It is the best way to learn who we are, our place in the world, to explore the world around us and the people in it. It ain't just for babies and young children. It is for all of us. It's not what we do after learning. It is the learning. And do you play? Your homework is to make sure that you spend time to play. It is important for us too. And rethink how you use resources. And if you are wanting to do a bit more of a deeper dive, then please look out for our other CPD recordings, where we go into a little bit more into playgrounds and a little bit more into nurture. And we have a free taster pack. You do not have to be a Twinkl member to download it, but you do need a Twinkl account, which you can set up for free. And you can download and take a little look at some of our resources within that sample pack.
I think I speak for everyone when I say I would just love to be in Emma's class. I actually was lucky enough to do a day's supply in Emma's school and was in her classroom and saw some of these ideas in action, and what her school had in their playground for the children to just go and start using was incredible. So the resources that she's talking about there, for someone who wasn't from a play-based school before at that point, going in and seeing these resources and actions, I actually found it quite daunting at first. I was like, are the children, do they know how to use these things? And it's just that training of having these things in the playground and ensuring children know that, well, no, these things, like running about with a pencil, for example, and ensuring these safety things are there. But having seen it in action, it was amazing to see. And I would really love to be in Emma's class. In fact, we might move down the road a little bit so my kids can be in Emma's class, because we're not too far away from each other. But I hope you've come away this evening with some new practical ideas and a renewed appreciation for the value of play at all ages. If you'd like to continue the conversation or share your experiences or find even more ideas and resources, please join the Twinkl Play Facebook group. It is a great place to connect with other educators from around the world, ask questions and get inspired.